Hi guys, my name is Johan from Restoration.bike. And in this video I'm going to show you this MTB ride. And I'm going to do it a little bit different than you're used to if you watched some of my other videos. I'm gonna do it slightly more improvised. This is not a repair or restoration, which is the subject of a lot, if not all, of my other videos. So, fun story, fun fact is that this is the first time in my life, yes, you heard that, the first time in my life that I've ridden a full suspension mountain bike on an official mountain bike trail. So I didn't realize that until only after I finished the trail. And it was kind of surprising to me. I have done this trail before multiple times, but I've done so on rigid mountain bikes, so no suspension at all. And as you can already see, judging by the quality of the trail, that is not really an easy feat to do. So first time. The specific mountain bike you can see I'm using here is a mountain bike I've restored from start to finish. And it's a Cannondale Super V, originally a Super V 1000 from 1994, the first full suspension mountain bike that Cannondale would bring to the market the second year, but the first version with the large aluminum rear end. Took me quite a long time, so the mountain bike has 60 millimeters of suspension both in the front and in the rear. And if you compare that with, what you can buy today, what is deemed standard today, I think that suspension starts with 100 millimeter, which is considered not very much. So, of course, when you go down to 60, it's even less. And it's not, suspension from 2021. It's suspension from 1994. So, it has aged. It aged well, like wine, but it has aged nonetheless. Oops, took a wrong turn. The bike overall is pretty periodic correct. It has a lot of upgrades, but it has upgrades from the 90s. So it originally did not came with the brakes that are on these bikes, which are Magura HS22. And it also changed a lot of other parts, most notably the wheel set, which is a raw dolomite from 1999 wheel set. It has, it's an 8-speed classic for the time with grip shifts, sacks, not SRAM. SRAM would buy sacks in 1989, if I'm correct. And it has 2 chain rings in the front, not 3. No granny ring for me. That's why you see me hear me huffing and puffing that much. The middle ring, or smallest ring in this case, is a 36 teeth with a 44 as the bigger one. I would not use it at all. And 11 to 33 or 32, 33 in the back, which was enough, as it would turn out. It was hot. 30 degrees. I don't know what that is in what the Americans have to measure the heat. And this area where I'm riding is called the Schoorlse Duinen, or Schoorl Dunes. They're naturally natural dunes, and the Dutch community decided to plant a forest about 100 years ago, because the dunes would swallow the houses because they move because of the wind or something. But as you can see, sometimes I'm having quite some trouble moving forward because it's extremely sandy. And as was very standard for the time.
Oh, sorry.
Those guys, obviously they have newer bikes, and the guy was asking, did you build that from scratch? They recognized that the bike was very old. So that's what they asked, if you were wondering. But as I said, you know, it's periodic correct, upgraded. So I'm running 1.95 inch width tires. And I can tell you that that's just not enough for these very dry and sandy conditions. But you know, learning by doing. And there's just, you know, if you're wondering about a difference between old and new bicycles, you can see it right here. There's just no way I could keep up with these guys, you know. I just could not maintain the speed. And I bruised a rib on this trail once, and I was very unwilling to do that again. So I rode a bit more cautious than I would be doing normally, I guess.
Hey. Hey.
I was getting pretty winded. As it turned out later, I was getting sick. I would have a cold, a very heavy cold the day after this ride. So this ride is in the midst of my incubation time. It's not Corona, but it was just a heavy cold. And here you can see the conditions, you know.
Hey.
Just too sandy. The trail is considered to be one of the most beautiful ones in the Netherlands. It's also kind of hard. You know, the Netherlands is flat, especially in this part. And these dunes are, you know, hilly is a big word, but they give you enough elevation to get a very good workout. It's a 10 mile or 16 kilometer trail. Up and down, up and down. There's not that much space. You can see me hitting branches and whatnot. But the weather was, you know, everything you'd want. Perfect.
Ah, verdomme.
Yeah, man, that's 60 millimeter of suspension kicking in right there. I always thought I did not like grip shifts because I had another bike with grip shifts. But they on this bike, you know, they just work flawlessly. I do tend to like trigger shifters, you know, the standard index shifter better. But you know, these are really fun. You know, that clicking sound, really fun to use, and especially if they work okay, which they do. Trying to take a breather here. What you don't see in the video is that I could feel my wheels, you know, moving over the sandy parts of the trail while going down. And that's kind of scary, you know, that you know that you're only so much in control of the bike while you're going down in that part. Sorry for that. In general, I like to climb very much, maybe even more than going downhill or going very fast. And that's not possible on this full suspension. I know that there are newer style full suspension where you can actually get out of the saddle without the suspension working and the bike feeling like a noodle underneath you. That's definitely not the case with this bike. If you get out the saddle and try to pedal, you know, it's like a, you know, you're riding a Cadillac or something. You lose so much momentum. It's best to just stay in the saddle all of the time. And that's, I have to admit, that's not the type of riding that in general I enjoy the most, because I really like to get out of the saddle. I really like to climb while being out of the saddle. So if I would ever buy a new bike, totally new, I have 3 mountain bikes. I have a rigid one, a front suspension, a hardtail, and this full suspension one. But if I would buy, you know, a bike, you know, that they came out with in 2020, 2021, I would probably do a cross-country hardtail. Or maybe, you know, if I do the research, I would find out that there is a full suspension that would give me that ability to climb while being out of the saddle.
Hey.
So before I did this trail, I made sure I, you know, gave a small donation to the people who maintain these trails for you and ensure that you can have all this fun. So consider making a donation as well. A lot of volunteers, you know, spending a lot of time and effort to make sure that you and I can enjoy mountain biking. So help them out. Got a lovely sticker in return. So thanks, guys, from MTB Schoorl. There are 3 parts to this route. which are in the woods. This is the first part, at least from the starting point I always take. And then in the, you can already see the heide, what's in where we'll be heading into right now. One of the reasons that, you know, people like this trail so much. This little trail will sap the strength, will drain the strength from your legs just before one very spicy climb we're heading towards right now.
Ah. Hoi. Ja. Dat moment dat je je realiseert dat je geen versnelling meer over hebt.
Ja. Dat is een oud fietsje hoor.
Ja.
Oud beestje.
Ja.
Nou, remmen nog.
1994.
Nou, niet van houden, van retro. Leuk.
Ja.
was a really nice guy. I chatted with him for, I believe, maybe 30 minutes or something. That's one of the things I like about cycling in general, mountain biking. You know, you can start talking with anybody who has a bike because chances are, you know, you've got some stories to tell, you know, some bikes you want to ride, things you want to buy, those kind of things. Chatted with him, very friendly. So nice getting to know you. And yes, you are on tape. He also recognized the bike for being very old. So great chat in general. This is the second part where you ride in the woods. It's not that long before you head out across the dunes again for the last and final part in the woods. There is someone looking for his bike. This is a nice intermission. It's a little bit wider. You can, you know, have a little bit more speed, although you very quickly get out of it again and move into what will be the most sandy part of the entire trail, where I really tried to look for that route with the most traction, and sometimes, you know, I just could not find it, and I was just couldn't get the speed I would like to, but hey. As you can see, we cross here the normal bicycle route where there is this 15 kilometer, 60 kilometer mountain bike trail, and in this area there's about 60 kilometers of other bicycle routes with seashells and, you know, those concrete plates. Can't see it, but we're riding alongside the sea. They're about, you know, 600 feet to the right. So if you get really hot, you can just go to the beach, settle down, have a drink. That's what makes this such a great area. So many things in such a tiny place for you to enjoy. Yeah, that's...
Bah. Ah.
So in general, I'm a purist when it comes to restoration projects, which means that if I can preserve the old feel of the bike, I will. I have to admit, I have done a restaurant of one bike where I just, kind of bought the best parts that money could buy to a certain degree. That was not the case for this bike. But as you can see me struggling here through these parts, it made me rethink these tires, which are IRC Mythos XC 1.95 inch with 26 inch tires. And I've bought a pair of knobby nicks, Svalbard knobby nicks, to give me more width. I've bought two 235. I've bought the classic ones, the tan wall ones, because they just look great, or else I would have bought a knobby nick and a racing Ralph or racing Ron. But since for 26 inch, brands often decide to ditch the tan wall version, except Panaracer. Big up to Panaracer. I decided to buy two knobby nicks, which is fine. And knobby nicks is a standard light trail all-round tire, which would be much better suited for these conditions. They would have provided me with the ability to run a lower tire pressure, to have more grip, and to have a bit more confidence when cornering, when going fast downhill. So knobby nicks it will be for the purist Johan. I've also, this bike also ran a Selkoff seat post, rigid, and I've upgraded it to a Thompson Elite because of the length. I'm 6'4". This is a medium-sized bike. It definitely has the right amount of length because of that stem. 90s stems, especially from Cannondale or any mountain bike, they were notorious for what some people would call small baby arms in terms of length. I believe this is a 13 centimeter, 130 millimeter length stem, which is reversible, so you can use it up and down. So I reversed it so it moved back a little bit and up a little bit, which makes the ride more comfortable and suits the geometry I'm looking for a bit more. One of the biggest issues that a lot of people have who are, doing restoration or riding their bikes in general is that comfort while riding is much more a function of geometry and less a function of what the bicycle manufacturer decides to put on the frame in terms of size. So, a size, I run bikes, I have a lot of bikes, and I run them, this is a medium, and I run them from medium to a large to extra large. And this is definitely not the bike that feels the smallest. Definitely not. It suits me just fine. So this is the final part in the woods again. There is a very steep climb right before the end called the Nook, if I'm correct. And you can skip that as well because there's a sort of shortcut if you know what's coming and you're not really in the mood to spend the last amount of energy you might have. But I knew it was coming, and I was looking forward to it to a certain degree, I must admit. This is also a very nice part of the trail, a bit wider as you can see, and if the condition would be a bit better, that rain would have fallen, so that really sandy part is gone. You could, really get up to speed in these areas. So in pretty quick succession, you make about 150 feet in, I think, 10 minutes or something. And I was constantly riding in either lowest gear or the second gear. In general, I don't really mind the heat. So again, it was very hot in this day, and I used my 2 water bottles with 1.5 liter, and then combined, I used it all up in just over an hour of riding. And I found that that it's a good thing to have that amount of water and just force yourself to drink, because your overall energy level stays higher, even if you don't really feel the need to drink that much. So just a small tip: if you have the water bottles you can carry, not all mountain bikes can hold 2 water bottles. But drink is good. And I only use water, I don't use anything else. This is a short trip, so no need to. Make sure you have enough energy before you go. Small part on bike lanes through the forest to reach the new part of the trail. Yeah, man. Guess was kind of thirsty. And it's also really fun to do these types of bike paths as well, with another bike, that's lighter and can go much faster than this one. You could, man, with 60 kilometers of bike lanes, you can really power through this entire forest in an hour and a half or something. It's really fun. It's so beautiful out here. And it's so funny to just realize after the fact that I'd never done a full suspension mountain bike trail with full suspension. That's just, it's almost hilarious and kind of sad, you know, that I was unable to give myself that experience much sooner, because, you know, if you have the chance, you know, do it, because it's so much fun. Don't forget to turn the lockout off for that glorious 60 mil of front suspension. And as I've mentioned, I started doing this trail on a rigid mountain bike. That is fun, sure, but it's very, you know, literally mind-boggling. It boggles your mind. You kind of get a headache. It's a whole different type of riding if you do that sort of stuff. You know, you have to work so much more with your body to preserve energy, to preserve balance, than let the bicycle do it for you. And this, you know, again, this is a very old full suspension mountain bike. So I've never in my life ridden a full suspension mountain bike today. You know, I've never even ridden, you know, the oldest bike I have right now is already 13 years old. The newest bike I have is already 13 years old. So as far as retro vintage goes, and I guess, you know, it's written all over me. But that's okay, you know, the experience is, it's funny that I have been able to give myself this experience, which feels so rich to me. It's an upgrade, you know, riding this full suspension mountain bike from 1994. It's a huge upgrade, you know. It adds to the ride, instead of, if you ride this bike, you think it's too small, you know. It's the battery was dead, by the way. So you think it's too small, it's not good enough, there's not enough suspension, the wheels are too slim, the wheels are too small. You know, for me, this was an upgrade. It was like I went from a rigid to a hardtail to this full suspension. The hardtail, by the way, is a Killer V from 1998. It's a bit newer than this one, and the rigid is a mountain bike from 1991. So this is right there in the middle. So it's so funny, but it's so funny to realize that. And yeah. It's like watching a good movie for the first time. It's just something you can never do again. So So we're nearing the end of the ride here. About 10 minutes left. So for that final push, we're heading towards the Nook, which translates something like the top of the roof, you know. Up. It's so we're heading towards the largest dune in this area, which is 58 meters, I believe, 58, around 150 feet, 170 feet. misshifted. Yeah, that's no dropper post for me. So I'm probably doing that classic behind the seat move to get across those, minor jumps.
Hoi. Ah. Ah. Hey. Hey. Ah. Hey. 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 Ah. Ah.
So that was a pesky little climb, and now comes the sketchiest part of the entire ride, especially with this bike. Small wheels, almost no suspension. Let's go. What the? You know, who needs a dropper post? Okay. No more. Even I got my limits. So that marks the end of this trail. And you go out where you came in. Full circle. So that's it for this video. Something else that you might be used to from me. Really like the GoPro I bought. You know, it enables me to do this stuff. It's fun to see yourself riding and enjoying something that you worked so hard for. In this case, this beautiful Cannondale Super V from 1994. Bull horns and all, to conquer the Schoorl Trail. Here I will go back to my camping. If you want to see more videos, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. I also have a Facebook group. If you're into bike restorations yourself, or you are planning on doing your first project, and you would like to ask for help, make sure to join the Facebook group with the link you can find in the description below. Enjoy your own rides, ride safely, stay healthy. Stay happy, and I hope I can welcome you and talk to you again for the next video. Then it's bye for now.